is already ready. We are ready from that space of the heart with Denise Devlin, with an incredible channeling session that I personally have been looking forward to since we put this retreat together. Era Light here for the Cosmic Activation Retreat. Thank you, thank you, thank you, beautiful one, who are joining us in the Facebook. I know we're gonna give you a little time to get in, to tap into our energy. We're calling upon all of the cosmic healers to be here with us, calling upon their high self to be present in this container, calling upon our guides, ancestors, and spirits, and our family of light to be fully present with us, which has been the greatest support. And I am very humbled to be here as a vessel for the divine to put this retreat together, assisting myself and all of us into these great times of ascension. So blessed to be here with Denise. And before I invite her into the screen, I would like to share with you the beautiful video we've made for this retreat. The poem, it's a pure download, and the music was shared by great friends of mine. And I would love to share it with you as a part of starting up the session, just to tune into the energy.
In oneness we come, one family, one heart. To divine service we vow, in this here and now. I no more can deny, my soul sings. I am that I am. I am love, I am light. I am all is I. Thank you, Mother Earth, for your diamond light. My heart expands and I awake. No more to deny that voice inside. I am awake to who I am. A child of light, a divine sovereign being on my journey back home. Oh beloved, today is the now. Spiral inwards to be you, the light.
And here we are with the beautiful family joining in Zoom, and beautiful Facebook family. Looking forward also for you to be here and be with us in this wonderful channeling of Saint Peter and the Untold story. And I'm so looking forward to hear all about it from Denise. We are also live on YouTube. Denise, when you are ready, please unmute your microphone, and you're most welcome, sister. You're most welcome to the Cosmic Activation Retreat, and thank you for heeding the call and being part of this cosmic activation and being part of the cosmic healer who had really stepped into the power and sharing from that space of the heart. Welcome, 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 everybody.
Thank you so much. Sorry, I was just trying to share it on my page there, but I'm just going to relax now and just join the space.
We'll give you a minute to do so. That's fine. In between also, you can do that. I've already shared on yours. I tagged you in the live right now, and I'm sharing also with everybody in the group. If you want to take a couple of minutes to share on your page, that's also most welcome. That's fine. We're just flowing with the energy,
okay.
And we are just being in that space of the heart. So the more we share love and light, the more we spread love and light. And here I invite all our Facebook friends to share from their side and start the watch party. This is a good way to share love and light. Yes, there we go. Love and light for our Facebook family. And this is how we are calling upon the family, and this is how we're calling upon the tribe. Yes, we're on. All is in place. And beautiful ones joining. Thank you, Eva, Kamesh. Thank you. We're already seeing some people in the Facebook. Please stay tuned for the session. Be ready. Declare your readiness now. Leave that I am ready in the comment, and just to tune in with Denise and enjoy the channeling. Not only that, you can leave all your questions for her and I'll pass them on. Denise, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. So do you want me to tell a bit of the story about how I started the channeling first?
Everything about what you would like to share about your journey and how you got to be here, about the untold story and how this whole thing started with you. And you can go with the flow of this session. Just feel into your heart and share with us.
Okay, well, hi everybody. There's some lovely people here that I know from before. I see lovely Dr. Joe Delaney and Janet Haas and all are there, and Jackie Gilbert, and Nina's there as well. So thank you for joining, everybody, and anybody else who's coming today. I am Denise Devlin. I live in County Tyrone in Northern Ireland. I have a training company called Positive Parties Training with a Difference. So I was really just going ahead with that, doing my whole out there, getting my training company out there. We deliver workshops about positive mental attitude and positive mental health in a unique party style environment. So it's all about really coming back and to see the light within yourself, but done in a real party style way. But after my 50th birthday, I was really stopped in my tracks, and I felt as if I didn't have the same energy, and I knew I had to stop and I had to be still. And I think this came from, it was kind of triggered about losing my really best friend, Faye, who had passed over on the 20th of May. Yeah, so this was the September, October, November, December, and I still knew I wasn't had that energy and that whole zest for my company that I had. And it was through being still that St. Peter came through and basically stopped me in my tracks. And a point came when I really knew that I had to describe this book, which is called The Untold Story, Peter and Jesus, the Gap Years. Loads of synchronicities up to this point, where one day I was writing, what does my soul want right now? What do you want me to do? And then my arm just took off by itself, totally took off by itself. And I couldn't stop. It just kept scrolling and scrolling. And then it was a couple of days later when I was given a date of like the 18th of November, which is by appointment, a date with me. And it was a date that we moved in here to this house. It was a date that we'd moved here. It was a date that my daughter had written up one time for my mummy. This is my mummy. And it was a picture of a little stick girl with a heart as a head. And that had been written in, like, she'd drawn that when she was 4 in 2009. We moved in here to where we live now in the country in 2015. And when I started the scrolling and just the scrubbling, where my arm took off by its own, I was watching TV with my husband that night, and a character came in the program. He was called Peter, and my arm just took off again by itself. And I said to my husband, I have a feeling that it's St. Peter is calling me to do something. And my husband says, well, that's big. So I looked up, I Googled when is the feast day of St. Peter and St. Peter, and it's the 29th of June. And it was, I just thought, well, I have no affiliation to that date. That means nothing to me. And then underneath it said, this can also be celebrated on the 18th of November. And I knew, because I had a friend that day that had been in. I talked to her about my arm going, and we had talked about the 18th of November. So this was the start of it. I cleared my decks of my office. I was told to clear everything, to take down all my flip chart paper and all my marketing stuff and all my prioritize this. This is, you know, top priority. Do all my busyness of my business. I was told to stop that, clear my office, and I had to start writing, scribing for St. Peter on the 1st of March 2017. And so I would get up at 6 in the morning and I started scribing, and that's how the book began. And I scribed every day up until the 29th of June, and then the book stopped and the pen ran out on the last day, of course. The pen had been gifted by a friend, Sinead, and I would have it and I would lose it and I would have it. Couldn't find it again as long as it had been used the whole time. But on the very last sentence of the book, the pen ran out. So that was the Untold story. Then I kind of left it for a few months. I went to Denver to do a course, which I thought was about positive parties, my training company. And it was to do, during it, they talked about writing, about just hearing from the divine and writing. And when the music came on, my arm for the first time since the 29th of June started going again, and I got the title, I got the introduction, and then I sent it to Balboa Press to be published. And I had my book launch on the 29th of June 2018, and this was very kind of quite scary for me because I hadn't told people. Only very few family members and close friends knew about the book, because there I was out in the world of corporate education, doing all this work about neuro-linguistic programming and cognitive behavioral therapy, and all of a sudden I was coming out to say I was channeling St. Peter. So I was very afraid of what people would think. But of course, once I got back over that, it was fine. The day I told everybody was the 20th of May. It was the anniversary of my gorgeous friend Fi. It was her 2-year anniversary. And a friend of hers was coming for dinner, a friend from Canada, because I lived in Canada. And I only knew on the Friday that this lady was coming for dinner, and I'd asked Tandy to come, and I said, come please, we'll celebrate Fi's life. And I says, this is the day I've told everybody about my book, that my book is published and I'm having my launch. And she came in and sat down, and I says, and there's all these synchronicities about the 18th of November. And she said to me, Denise, my birthday is on the 18th of November. So there was another side from Spirit and St. Peter to let me know that what I was doing was on the right track. I launched the book, and then it was around that time too that St. Peter's voice started coming through. And again, I held back with this because I thought, oh my goodness, the book is enough. Do I have to come through now and do healing and channeling? But again, with the help of joining, the New Earth Mystery School with Martin McNichol and the support of all my lovely friends there, I was able then to come forth and do what I do in the whole channeling St. Peter and bringing forth this energy that he has. And now I do this in private sessions and on Zoom calls as well. So that's basically a summary of how it all came about. If anybody told me years ago that I would be doing this, I wouldn't have believed them. I was in that business corporate world, working with schools and education and the corporate world, and then all of a sudden I'm channeling St. Peter. So yeah.
Welcome to the club, sister. The divine has a different plan for each one of us, something that we've agreed upon. It's just we got the nudge and the remembrance that, that's exactly what we came here for. And hearing your story, it just warms my heart, because it's almost every other person that I've met on this journey, and it's just like transformative, and it happens all of the sudden. And of course, you get cold feet at the beginning because you really don't know how to handle such a responsibility, actually.
Yes.
And but we can. That's why we prepare this vessel to be the vessel for the divine, and it works through us. I would like you to give us a little bit of history on St. Peter for the friends and family who are watching on Facebook, who are not familiar with St. Peter, and how is it related to Jesus, and a little bit of background, so we know exactly how to tap into it.
Yeah, well, St. Peter was basically in what I would have known as, I was brought up Catholic, so we would have been told, St. Peter was the head of the apostles. He was, and I really never thought that much about him, to be quite honest. So, because I then moved away from my whole, the Catholic Church when I started my spiritual journey. And that's not to say I still find solace in actually attending a mass. I'm not a weekly goer at mass, but I do attend now and again. And when I've at my daughter's whole confirmation, actually, St. Peter's reading, there was a reading from St. Peter. My arm kept taking off. It just kept going mad. And like people, my daughters had to hold my arm down. And, you know, because you can't explain to people what was happening. If you said, well, St. Peter's coming through me, people, you know, standing in the shop would actually think you were mad. But anyway, so St. Peter, to me, has just been the apostles. He was like we've been told he was the head of the apostles, and some, you know, I would have heard through, so it was just knowledge that I would have known that St. Peter had said to Jesus had said to St. Peter, upon this rock I built my church. But in the Untold story, he tells us, St. Peter says that it was not the actual church a building is like as Catholic Church and Christianity. It was the church within all of us. So there's not actually, and this in the book as well, it talks about the rules and regulations and how this was never meant to be, that this is the truth, that St. Peter said that what has happened along the way with the churches and what has been written in the Bible and the New Testament, a lot of that has been turned around to kind of suit people who want to control. So basically the dogma is not the truth of what happened with Peter and Jesus. And they were really good friends. They were businessmen together. I mean, it's quite, I can actually read how they met if you want me to, because that kind of tells it more rather than me trying to explain it.
Please, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I'll read this chapter 1 then. Friendship. I first met Jesus when I was a boy. I didn't know who he was. But he stood out like a lone star in the sky. He was bright, serene, calm, and peaceful, like no other child I had ever met. He was with his mother at the time. She called on him, and he looked at her with such love. I always remember that. They were in the market buying fruit and fish. I was with my father and had just come off the boat with our catch. I was a few years older, so I thought I was wiser in many years. I showed off by swaying when I walked, as if to say, look at me out fishing like a man and you're just a boy. We were both 13 and 16 at the time. My voice was like a man's, his had still to break. I remember hearing that when he spoke to his mother. He spoke with such gentleness too. They both wanted to buy some of our fish. Herring they wanted, but we had none, only sole. I remember he smiled at me while my father and Mary spoke. Little did I know how I would be affected by him and come to love him and his mother Mary in years to come. We did not speak, but his presence made an impact on me. It was when I met him years later that he called on me to join him. He said he knew that day in May that I would become his rock. I was to become Jesus's rock in the most peculiar of ways. About 10 years later, at a family birthday, cousins of ours on both sides were related and we were invited. At this stage, I was married to Sarah. We had a son and a child on the way. Jesus was with his mother Mary again. At this stage, he was about 23. Again, his stature was striking. He smiled at everyone when they came in. I knew him immediately. I remembered his energy. The boy was now a man and his presence was felt by everyone. No one seemed to know how or why they were drawn to him. They just were. His eyes met your gaze when you looked at him, and he only seemed to have eyes for you. He was truly present with everyone he spoke to, listening to their every word and tuning into their feelings. It was empathy and excellence. I had never witnessed this ever before. It was at this family occasion we first spoke. I was introduced to Jesus by an uncle who said, you two men could go into selling your wares together. Good furniture and fresh fish are hard to come by. It would be a match made in heaven. And he laughed. Jesus then held out his two hands towards me, beckoned me to take his, and he looked at me with twinkling eyes and said, what do you think, Simon? Or may I call you Peter? But I am called Simon, I answered. You may be, he replied, smiling, but to me you look like a Peter. If anyone had dared change my name, I would have been angry and challenged them. But with Jesus, I knew it was meant to be. So from then on, and I don't know how or why, but everyone referred to me as Simon Peter, or simply just Peter? The rest of the evening, we talked and laughed as if we were long-lost brothers. I could tell that the energy between us was special. We had a bond that like no other, and in the room, it was just like we clicked in modern-day words. I know, but it is how I describe our bonding encounter. We arranged to meet the next day before the Sabbath. We met in Galilee and had food at a local tavern. Jesus told me many stories of his childhood, including his father Joseph and his mother Mary. He said he knew they had sacrificed a lot for him and he wanted to be able to look after his mother well. He felt that I could help do this as he trusted me, even though we had just met. He said he remembered meeting me 10 years before at the market. We hadn't spoke, as teenage boys were so emotionally shy at that age. He said he knew from that day we would meet again and begin our journey together. Now, most men just don't meet another man at a family gathering, become firm friends, and agree the next day to look after one's mother. It was extremely strange, but very normal at the same time. How could I say anything but yes? This man was magical, and to be in his presence was truly magnificent. I knew that I was in the presence of the Son of God. At that moment, I dropped to my knees in the tavern, took his 2 hands in mine, and said, Master, whatever you wish, I am here for you. Jesus replied, Get up, Peter. Sit with me like an equal. Yes, I am the Son of God, and I know you realize this as you have been chosen to be an apostle, the leader of them all. But for now, we will eat and drink as brothers. I have some years yet before I start my ministry work for my Father in heaven. Meanwhile, I want to be a carpenter, just as you are a fisherman. I wish us to be brothers and sell our wares together and support each other. I want to live like a man before my duties of truly teaching begin. Can we do this? Can we be brothers? I smiled. I broke bread and handed it to Jesus and said, Take this and eat with me, brother. We will live like kings, and then our mission will begin when you say so. Until then, we will work, eat, and pray for there will be wonderful opportunities for both of us. So we set up a business together. I would catch fish, Jesus would make furniture, do carvings, and generally be very creative with wood. We linked the 2 trades by telling people about each other, a referral, I suppose, but these days it would be called good networking. We'd meet for breakfast twice a week, once in my home and then at his. This bi-weekly ritual became something to look forward to and cherish. At my home, Sarah would cook for us, and Jesus always helped clear and clean and do the dishes. When he first did this, I said, Sit down, Jesus, that's woman's work. He was quick to reply, And why do you say this, Simon Peter? Is your wife not equal to you? Why would you think it not becoming of you or any man to help the woman in the home? I lowered my eyes in shame, as he had not chastised me before. He continued, Without woman, my mother, your mother, we would not be here on earth. Neither would your son nor your new child, who is in Sarah's womb, have a chance to come and experience this world. Therefore, we men must realize that fact and think more clearly before we speak of our superiority, just because we are physically stronger. Women must be respected and treated equally, for they are crucial to our very existence and have to be appreciated and honored. Women can do everything men can do and more. They can bear children, which is such a generous gift to the world. Women can and will be in all the roles in life, society, politics, finances, farming, construction, and within the church, including leadership roles. Why would they not be? I ask you or anyone. So Peter, I ask you again, do you think that clearing the tables and doing the dishes is only woman's work? I meekly looked at Jesus in the eyes and replied, no. Today, I'm going to tell you how Jesus and I work so well together. He had the wonderful gift of making people feel at ease with themselves. Some have gifts of making people feel at ease in their company, but his gift was unique in that people felt comfortable and safe in their own skins, so to speak. In his presence, you felt loved and lovable. That's why so many people flocked to him. Just to be in his company made them honor their divine light within, without not even realizing why. His gift with people transcended into our business too. While folk felt the need for furniture or wood carvings, once they were visiting him or making an order to collect an item, he would always mention me and how tasty my fresh fish were and how I had such a selection. I would be rushed off my feet once I brought in with my catch. People would be waiting for me saying, Jesus sent us, he said your fresh fish are delicious. One day he asked me if he could come fishing with me. Of course, I said, We'll take food and make a day of it. I put a notice by the dock to tell people I'll be in later than usual. Let's enjoy this day. Jesus was like a little boy and with a new toy that day. He was so delighted to be going out fishing with me. I had a new boat too. As my business was doing so good with all Jesus referrals, I was able to replace my old one with a new one. This was my only third time to use it. I was excited to be taking Jesus with me. When we were out at sea about 1 hour, I cast the nets and Jesus helped me. He was so interested in how I set them up and cast them out. We also lifted some pots from the day before. It was a busy few hours before we sat and had lunch. Sarah had made us delicious bread and cheese, and Jesus joked about he hoped I'd helped out and not just left it to the woman. We talked about different things, our families, our hopes, our dreams. It was a day that Jesus told me of his love for Mary Magdalene and how he hoped they would marry. She had been a childhood friend and a sweetheart, and she was very blessed with much light. He said he knew his journey was not going to be an easy one, and he was there on earth for a very specific purpose. He knew her role would be a huge help in him helping him reach his mission. He said he felt that people would not appreciate her role in his life, and he knew that he had to keep it low-key in order to keep her safe and protected. Again, he mentioned how women were equal to men, not inferior. As many cultures portrayed, it may not be now in years to come, and it would be realized by all. Some countries and cultures would embrace it, many others would not, but in time, this would come and the divine feminine would be vital to earth and humanity. And then Peter's message on this chapter is cleansing of male egos and the divine feminine. When the rest of the world embraces the divine feminine, the world will be a very different place to be, for the sake of future generations. This cleansing of male egos, power-hungry attitudes, and competitiveness has to happen now, especially in the churches and religious institutions that favor only men in active roles. This has to stop. This is why people have veered away from churches in the past 10, 20, 30 years. People who are becoming awakened and stepping into the light can see the flaws of these religious institutions. There are, of course, many good men. However, how can the energy change when the divine feminine is not allowed to be part of the leadership, only allowed in the congregation? Yes, we see nuns in the Catholic Church, but they are not permitted to say Mass. Why ever not? If the divine feminine took an active role, you can guarantee a massive change in how people view the churches. Those who have women in the active service would vouch for this in their parishes, especially if the women are strong in their own feminine energy and not leaning over too much into their masculine aspect. This is what Jesus wanted for the world 2,000 years later. He is still waiting.
Just my heart is expanding just for the hearing of the appreciation of the feminine and the depth of that appreciation and how it took a very different route throughout the history of humanity, especially for the past 2,000 years. And when you shared about the untold story, the download that came through me, how there are so many untold story had been revealed to humanity through channelers like yourself and others who have really spoken about the unspoken, like a lot of truth about the Mary Magdalene and her energy and her role and her presence in Jesus' life had been shed light on, and it just came to life. And Mother Mary's presence as a divine feminine and the like the sisterhood of the rose, a lot of untold story had been revealed to humanity at this time, just because we are ready to start receiving the truth.
Yes.
I think what we've experienced for the past, I don't know how many hundreds of years, we have agreed also upon to reach this stage where we can see the truth and understand it and feel into it and embody it.
Yeah, totally.
It's all in divine timing, Denise.
It is. Yeah. And, even that first chapter, I remember thinking, I was still all very new to me, and I would just get up in the morning at 6. And if I didn't get out of bed, my arm would go like this and whack my husband beside me, and my husband Neil would be saying, "Get up, St. Peter's calling," because I had to get up at 6. I couldn't lie on, my arm just wouldn't stop. And then I would come down, and I had no idea every day what I would be scribing. I would just have to sit. I have St. Peter's photograph here and a candle, and I would just sit in front of it and just take 5-10 minutes, and then my arm would take off, and then I would start to scribe, and every chapter was different. And he talks about, there's a story in it about travelers. There's a story in it about two men coming from another land, and them coming having dinner with Jesus and Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary and Peter and Sarah. And Jesus asked the two men, did you love like man and wife? And they said yes. And he took them and he took their hands and he said, and love is love. There are enough in the world to procreate. Love is love. So these stories all come out through it, you know, and that's what the churches took away, that the things like this were wrong, that women weren't allowed to stand up and, you know, and say, in the Catholic Church, a woman can't say a mass. And that's why if I ever go into a Catholic church and there's nobody in it, I will go and sit on the priest's seat, and I will make because a woman is never allowed to sit on the priest's seat, and I will sit in the priest's seat. And it's always a bit scary because there could be somebody coming in that's, you know, around the altar or something that they could chase you out and be horrified. But I always make a presence and sit in the priest's seat, so the divine feminine. Why are women not allowed to sit in that priest's seat up on the altar? You know.
All along history, women have been in that priest seats. They have been the priestesses of all the temples, and they've led civilization to their highest, level of consciousness. I'm not demeaning the man, but the egoic male had really gotten in the way and kind of caused a lot of separation, further separation. Whether that it's the energy within either the man or the woman as a masculine that got into its dysfunctional aspect, which has caused us this little trouble and being disaligned. But what I see now is such a beautiful rising of the feminine and rising within the masculine. And what I also feel, how the masculine is becoming the anchor for this feminine to rise and to co-create a new reality, a new earth. And it is so beautiful, whether we are in this this vessel as a woman or as a man. It's honoring both energies within us. It's what's going to cause us or bring us to that space of balance and alignment within, so that we can lead.
Chapter 2 is about balance.
Wow. That's wonderful. See, it's all in divine designing, and it's all flowing in that perfect time. We have a beautiful presence also on Facebook. So beautiful family on Facebook. If you've got any questions and comments for Denise, please drop them there and we'll share with her. And so looking forward to hear more about the Untold story.
I don't know. The second book is happening now, right? So, and this is very different from the first book. The first book, The Untold Story, happened within, like I said, it started on the 1st of March and it finished on the 29th of June. This book was about a year and a half later, but it comes in, you know, I 1 minute I might get up and my arm goes and I have to scribe, and then I mightn't scribe for another 4 to 5, 6 weeks. But there's a bit in here. This book's more like the Conversations with God type. It's like questions and answers. And St. Peter told me that at the start. He says this is going to be very different. And I got a bit in my head going, oh, but it's, you know, it's not going to be like the Untold Story, a chapter and then Peter's message. And he said, you know, no, I have two daughters, they're 14 and 17. He says, you know, your two children are very different as well. You know, you don't have, you know, birth another book and be a scribe and it's going to be the same as the first one. So there's a bit in here right now about what's going on in the world right now. If you want me to read about that.
Please, by all means.
Okay. So this is from the 2nd of April, and it's me asking here. So can I ask you, what is going on now in the world? Why do we have this coronavirus? Peter, this is a time of true awakening, a time of chaos, a time of ultimate change in society, in the world, on your planet. This much needed shake-up will and is bringing forth many gifts in humanity. Things that people have forgotten about, like slowing down, finding time to be still, spending time with the most important people in their lives, i.e. their family, taking time to focus on what is most important to them instead of rushing, making plans and always doing and being. This time of total uncertainty and change brings about a sense of deep-rooted peace amidst the craziness of it all. People will look back and reflect and say, that was difficult, that was a very trying and worrying time, but it also changed my life. So I'm asking, I hear you, Peter, but what about the sadness too? People are losing loved ones. So many people are passing over and their families do not get to have normal send-off, funeral service, ceremony. This is very traumatic for those left behind, Peter. Of course, on a human level, this is very distressing, but I can tell you now, those who came to Earth at this time and have passed over due to this pandemic chose to at a soul level before they came here. Me. So those who have now gone and those who will get this virus and pass over because of it already decided to do this, and this is part of their soul contract in this lifetime. Yes, that is correct. But why would anyone want to come and go in such a way, especially leaving young ones without having a proper goodbye and a funeral ceremony? This is not what all of us want. A lovely send-off, celebrating our life and having our loved ones there to pay their respects and talk fondly and kindly of us. This seems so harsh and sad not to have anyone, not the way anyone would want to be remembered, because they can't be really. Peter, you are missing the point here. When someone passes over, their loved ones are there waiting for them. They go into the light. So a funeral service, ceremony or not, is irrelevant. It is only to serve the loved ones left behind so that they get to grieve, celebrate the loved one's life and have closure. Me. So those who have now gone, they don't mind that they didn't get a proper funeral, Peter. Of course not. Those who chose this path did so in a way to help humanity, save the planet. It was indeed a noble thing to do, to choose as their journeys end. And as you will have witnessed, those leaving are mostly the elderly, who are due to leave soon anyway. This is why it has been constructed to be so, that they have lived their life and they are just leaving a little earlier than their families expect, and some in somewhat unusual circumstances. Me. But what about doctors and nurses that are passing? They are not old and it's not their time, Peter. Again, it is their time. They signed up for this at a soul level before coming into the world. They are frontline. This is what happens. And they are aware of this in the career choice that they made. Healthcare workers do what they do because it's a calling, it's a vocation. That's when something like this happens, it's deemed to be part of the job. It's one of the risks, and though it is unusual circumstances, they signed up for this a long time ago. Me. It all seems very surreal when it's happening right now. Can you give me any more information? What is in store for us? Peter, you know I don't do that. Why would I vex you about what is to come? I will tell you this though. The world will get through this. It will be better for it. Those who chose to leave and play their part are so thankful to have been part of this conscious awakening. And as the world recovers from the aftermath post-corona, will bring new energies, new loves, new outlooks on life, and a very deep returning to God source spirit, in which humanity will be centered to coming back to remembering who they truly are.
You know, throughout the past years of my studies into soul realms and soul choices and being here in this human experience, past life regression, Akashic reading. So a lot of the things that I have been delving through so I can understand this a human experience. And what really made it so easy on me and comprehending further is that as souls, we have made the choice to be here and to live the life we're living, to be with the people we are, even the death we are choosing, even the pain, whatever pain it comes through, whatever circumstances we go through, these are choices we made. And once we claim the responsibility of that choice that we've made in our most conscious states, our life flow in that divine flow. And you know, chaos might sound so painful, and I'm sure maybe you guys have heard of the Beirut blast a week ago, and I come from Lebanon, and my family has been through that traumatic event. And the next day when my mom called me up, and she was just telling me what happened, because I'm not following much on, news and stuff, but she was telling me the only thing that happened at that moment is I got that download with tears coming through my eyes, that all those souls that have passed or gone through the trauma, even the land itself, it's a part of our greatest awakening. And those souls who have chose to pass, they have, they made a choice to be there at this time, to go through it, and even to pass through the light at that moment. It is part of that divine cosmic plan that we are part of, that we've agreed upon. So it makes life flow easily. And just by shifting the perspective on life and soul connections and soul choices, it just makes the big difference. And you understand whatever happens around you, you don't go into that deep anger towards life or towards God or towards creation. You'll understand it's a part of this whole divine design, and all this chaos is going to resolve into divine order sooner or later. That's a beautiful affirmation right now with what you've shared, the messages from St. Peter. It's beautiful.
And what I thought, because I obviously kept asking again, but what about the people who, have, funerals? Does not everybody want a good send off? And Peter's basically saying, well, no, when you pass over, you don't care what happens back on earth, because you're there in the light, you've met your loved ones, you've gone home, and it's for the people obviously left behind, it's for the loved ones who, to be able to celebrate. So that's the hard bit. But as long as the soul itself isn't yearning to think, oh, there was, I didn't get to have a funeral, they don't care.
Very interestingly, as being in this human experience, being here, but there is an aspect of our soul that is still it's still in the soul realm, like kind of like a different reality of ourselves that exists there in the soul realm, even our loved ones, our families, everybody. So when the soul departs, and this is something I've experienced and witnessed through past life regression, so when the soul goes back to the light, you still meet with your loved ones, even though you have just left them, because there is an energetic imprint of their soul. It's there.
Yes.
The energetic imprint, and this is how we recognize each other at soul level. There is a question about the book and when would it be out and the title of it, and people are interested. Maybe we can share your page in the comments so people can connect with you directly about the book and the
The Untold story is on Amazon. The Untold story, Peter and Jesus, the Gap Years. People can get it on Amazon. The new book, I have no idea yet, because this is like, that was chapter 10. I bet I read from you. There's chapter 11. It's honestly, I just have to go with the flow of it. I was on holidays there for 2 weeks. I brought my my manuscript down to write. I thought, well, St. Peter, we're going to be connecting on holidays. And nothing, he didn't. It was like a holiday with my family. I went swimming every day. I was doing family things. And, I just you can't try and predict when St. Peter's going to come through with the book. He just has to be in St. Peter's time. Yeah.
That's wonderful. And how does the channeling happen for you? Like you also are getting the nudges. You were getting the nudges with your hand that start scribing the book. How did it happen with the channeling?
Oh, the channeling, it's really funny actually, because it was just around the time before the book launch, and I was downstairs doing a meditation, and my husband was upstairs. The girls were at school, and all of a sudden in the middle of meditation, I could feel there was something happening in my throat. I could feel something, and then all of a sudden I just started going, oh, and I couldn't not. This was happening, and my husband could hear me from upstairs. So he came running down the stairs, and he was like shaving at the time, so he was all kind of like foam. And I was just standing there going, ooh, 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 sitting there going, ooh, 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 ooh. And I couldn't. And he just kind of looked at him and the dog, with this collie dog, Chico's looking up and Neil's looking at me. And I couldn't stop this noise coming from my mouth. And then it finally stopped. And I went to Neil, oh my goodness. Is that nuts? He said, well, I thought you were either having a heart attack or it was something spiritual. And I said, well, and he went, yeah, it's St. Peter. I said, I went, yeah. And then I kind of started to cry. I went, oh, flip me, because I'd only come out about the book. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to have to talk as well, am I? You know, and he was like, well, you're just going to have to go with it. So that was slower coming along, because I was really, the book was big enough, telling everybody about the book, but the fact that there was a voice coming through. But then that's when Mark McNichol interviewed me on the New Earth Mystery School, and then I joined on his one of his programs he was doing. I think can't remember the name, the self-help detox. And then I joined the New Earth Mystery School, and then there was this lovely, just beautiful spiritual people who were there to hold me, because we were coming on and doing lives in our own group, and St. Peter was coming through, and then people really encouraged me. They could feel the energy anytime I was doing anything. People could feel St. Peter coming through, and then the voice was getting deeper and stronger, and yeah, so it all happened from then. And then last year, my lovely friend Joe helped me set up my website, denisedevlin.ie. And I started doing one-to-one channeling, and I do Zoom as well. But yeah. But yeah, so I he'll probably come in now in a minute. I could probably do but so we kind of have to wait on him to come in if he wants to say anything. But do we have time for him to come in with a?
We have all the time. And when we started this, I said it's all in divine flow. So no restrictions, no timing, nothing. It depends on you and how you feel about it, and whoever comes in. But I'll tell you one thing, that experience you had in your throat, it's that deep activation that you needed to shed that layers that don't serve you, so that you can welcome the new resonance. And it's a very powerful. Also, I can share from my own experience. For many months, I will just start mumbling words, and especially when I'm in the forest or walking back, because I live near a very powerful grid here in the mountains, and I just go in the forest, and things will start coming through, and I will just be sitting. My hands are like everywhere moving, and then I'll be like, I thought gibberish at the beginning, and I'll make fun of myself. And I was like, so kind of, again, you don't want to share to anybody, because you don't know what is it, and you don't know how to proceed with it, until I met Bridget a month ago almost. And she spoke about light language, and she channeled Elohim, and I was crying. I was hosting her, and I was like, I've been experiencing that for many months, and I really don't know what to make up of it, and what is it? And then she offered me a channeling the next day, and that opened up a lot for me, and it opened the channels even further, and it is powerful. Just we have to let that fear go and surrender into it, and just we will be the vessel for the divine, and that's it. So I'm so looking forward to start up with the channel, and then feel into it with you. And there's a lot of love coming in the Facebook family. Thank you so much, all of you. And also, I will repeat again, if you have any question for Denise, please, we will answer them toward the end of this session.
Okay. Well, I just have to be aware that I have to pick up my daughters at 1:30. My daughter's at dance class, so I'll have to, but right now I'll just get into the space and see, St. Peter comes through. What usually happens when we do the Zoom sessions or a private session, he usually comes in with, and he does like a healing of the the chakra areas. So, and they're pretty powerful. So I'll just go with the flow here and see what he wants to do. Okay. Thank you for coming today, everyone, to listen to the words from the Untold story and the new scribe book, which has yet to be titled. We are still working on that. This is a time of great change. This is an exciting time in the world, although many of those who are not awakened do not see it this way. There is much fear. There is much panic. There is a lot of talk about recession and lack. But this is not what is happening right now. What is happening in the world is all divine
time. This is always meant to be. What is happening right now is awakening those who have been asleep. This is a time for those who are on their path will help others to step on. This is a time where people are coming back to source, back to spirit, back to God, back to that light within themselves. The world is ready. I will take you all now and give some healing to parts of you that have not integrated, parts within yourselves that have been hurt, that you are holding on to this old cellular memory. Relax, close your eyes, and be with me as I take you through the healing and letting go of what no longer serves you. Beginning with the crown chakra. Removing unwanted thoughts, words that you talk to yourself. Expanding, expanding. Light filling the crown. Moving to the third eye. Moving my throat. into the heart, activating the heart. Bringing the heart, the mind, the throat together. Think, speak, and feel as one. Solar plexus. Into the sacral. Moving now to the base. Expanding our oneness. Connecting the head with the heart. And the throat, so that you may all speak your truth. in line with what you're here to do. Be and speak of unconditional love. And so it is. Okay. That's me back.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
These days, I've been crying like my life, like my entire life combined. The tears of gratitude, the energy of gratitude that fills me in every time we go through some deeper activation, some powerful healing work that's affecting us collectively, individually, and I know we're heading to a very better place with that space of the heart, with that deep sense of gratitude to each other, to the universe. For these amazing times, I'm very grateful for you, Denise, for being here,
You're very welcome.
for sharing your healing, your wisdom, your medicine, and Saint Peter. It's so incredible. And thank you, everybody who joined here in the Zoom. Jackie, Janet, Joe, and thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I will share the link to the YouTube as well with you, so you can share it on your page. And
Thank you so much.
there's a lot of love showered on us on the Facebook. So far, no question, but people are in deep gratitude. I think they are feeling deeply into the energy, and it's better keep it within. So, and
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was when I came back from holidays there, it's like, you know, the way you've been on your holiday and you're kind of coming back to your job and you're thinking, oh goodness, can I, you know, do I remember what I do? It's like, you just, even this morning before I started, it was, you know, when I knew this was coming up, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here today. What St. Peter want me to do? And it's like never doubt, because he just comes in and does what he does. I just am a channel and I just have to get out of my own way. So thank you.
Never play small. It's about time to just be in that space of trust and surrender, because what we're doing, it's meant to happen. We have chosen to do this.
I know.
And after this awakening, the sudden awakening, this remembrance, now we're gonna kind of claim that doing and just be and just be. Thank you so much, and it's beautiful family. We are growing in love, in oneness, and thank you so much. I noticed a message here. I can share it. Yeah, we're all gotta go. I have another session coming up at 8:08. Within a couple of hours, we will be on with a third session for today, and we are indeed activating this grid cosmically. We are just working on the largest scale and that space of divine service and that space of love. Thank you, everybody. And
thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you. And for the Facebook family, I will see you in shortly, in a couple of hours, with a new session and another juicy and big activation happening.